and welcome to a little bit of a delayed start. And it's Saturday, wherever you are in the world. It's a beautiful day here in Australia. It's nice and humid and warm, and I'm wearing no shoes. People love to hear that. I don't know why. But anyway, big hello to you and to you guys in the chatties. And we also have a couple of guests who have arrived today. Now, hopefully these buttons work. We'll start with Henrik. Big hello to you, mates. How's your week been? And what I'd like you to do is, after you've said g'day and everyone, can you introduce our guest? And then I'll cross to him.
Yes. It's been a good week. A lot of homework. I'm remote controlling 13 computers at work, ingesting for the Danish broadcast station DR. And in my spare time, I do patches, and I do it with someone we called ESC, European Sound Collective. And then we started with watching a lot of live streams, and it was at PluginGuru. There we learned to use and program Omnisphere and other plugins. And John, who runs PluginGuru, is on today.
Hello, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. My name is John Limcool. I live in Portland, Oregon, and it's 6:15 in the morning.
Wow, 6:15.
Won't stop us, man.
Did you even go to bed or?
I did.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's how can we do this? We can do, maybe what we'll do is we'll just do the four of us, and I'll just change this little view so we've got the chatties in the corner.
Okay.
So John, you're from PluginGuru, so tell us a little bit about that while I sort this out.
All right. I own PluginGuru.com, and I've been in the sound design business since the 80s. I worked at a music store in Seattle, Washington, and the rep for Korg would come in all the time with new sounds and make sure that we were not running through guitar amplifiers and stuff like that. And the M1 came out and started to sell like crazy. I sold like 30 in a month. And he came in one time going, look, I cover the whole West Coast and I can't do it by myself. There's just too many places that need me to be there. So would you be interested in working for Korg? I'm like, hell yeah. So I took a red-eye flight to New York, did an audition, and started my career with Korg, moved to Los Angeles. I lived there for 18 years. In 2004, I moved to Portland, Oregon. In 2009, I started PluginGuru.com, so I've been doing this for 11 years. There's 80 libraries or so at my website. Last year, we actually released our own software, so I have a plugin called Unify that is messing things up for a lot of people in a good way. It's really, really cool. And yeah, so here I am.
Yeah, it's actually really, really cool to have you. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go to this now, John. What we do is, I don't know, you've probably seen the show or not. It's a pretty quiet show, so not everyone has. We have a couple of regular segments that we do each week. We try to sort of break the ice with a bit of humour first, and we call it Funny Side.
Funny Side.
Yes, well, Funny Side is where we actually troll the end of the internet, and we find these things called memes. And
love memes.
Yeah. So let's start with this one that Henrik sent in. If car enthusiasts, we are like synths enthusiasts. If car enthusiasts were like synth enthusiasts. The Ford Pinto. One of the greatest cars in history. Mario Andretti used to actually own one of these, often used to pick up his groceries. And then he goes on to say, what's so great about it? Wasn't the Pinto a kind of bland economy car that had a fair amount of functional issues? Haha, not much of a car enthusiast, are you? No, I guess not. Why Why was there something so really special about the Pinto that I don't know about? Did it have some great feature or something? No, I already told you. Mario Andretti used to use it. So it goes on like this, right? And then there's another car, and he goes, the Geo Metro, one of the greatest cars in history. Dale Earnhardt used to store his old magazines and newspaper clippings in one of these. So I would so much pay to have one of these. So it's kind of a piss take on what people do with synths, because we all know that some synths are pretty crap, right? So there you go. That was a good one.
Yeah,
I like that one. Now, if you do come from Australia, you will probably get this one. This is the famous Sydney Opera House. There's a reference track, and there's your track.
Oh, that's good.
So
sound like them. Oh, it's close enough, I guess.
Oh, some of these, they get really close to home, and we should be careful. Like this one. Look, a shooting star. I want my plugins to work on Catalina. Let's say Big Sur now. I want my plugins to work on Big Sur. And notice the shooting star doing a U-turn. There's a tear rolling down his cheek. Oh, I love that one.
Forget about it.
That's good. That's a good one. And what else we got? We have got this one where, according to NASA scientists, you could fit over 1 trillion Korg volters into Uranus. So there's a bit of an ongoing joke about this. A lot of people will get this. Some people may think, what? Why are people putting volters in their butts? Well, I don't know, but apparently it's funny. Anyway, just a quick reaction from you gents. Do we have a favourite this week?
Henrik, what do you think?
Yeah. I loved the one with the Australian one with the concert house.
The dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be what happens if you do decide to get yourself into a career in music. You might actually have to wash dishes to support that career. It might be a bit of a...
At the moment, yes, that's very true.
I mean, obviously we're not playing live. Okay, now let's get a quick hello from the chatties. Let's quickly jump into there. They've been really patient. Thanks so much for the chatties for... Oh, and we are buffering, are we again? Please not buffering. Dearie me. Anyway, we'll just see if we can keep plugging along. It looks like we're buffering. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, or if it's just my end.
Huh.
It looks like it works here.
Okay, good. It's just my end. Cool. Beautiful. All right. Hello to all the chatties. Now, what I like to do each week is I like to say hello to everyone that's here. And I probably won't be able to do that because it's been scrolling for ages. But let's just do a quick one. Let's do big hello to Andrew Brooks. Sorry, Andrew, for not being able to squeeze you into the show this week, but love to have you back next week. Darren's there. Darren will get you connected in a sec. Future World Machines, Inky the Cat. Hello, Lisa. Inverted Popes, JP Page 2, Martin Taylor, Mega Mark's there. Mike, Hydro Pneumatic, that's a good one. Native VS is there. Rocky Mountain Sounds, Sasquatch, Sensian.
Yeah, that's Jason. He actually has a couple Omnisphere libraries for sale on PluginGuru.
Oh, cool. Big hello to you. Sergio is from down in the southern part of America, from Argentina, and Magoo. And there's plenty more. If I didn't mention your name, I do apologise. I think I saw Axelsoft. I think I saw Martin Taylor, Future World Machines. Look, it just goes on and on and on. So it's a really, really good list of people there. Big thank you all for joining us this week. Sorry about the delayed start. We're going to roll cracking on to the next segment, which is news. There's not a lot of news this week. Right, beautiful. News. Okay, let's start off with this one. Yes, Tom Oberheim has re-released the TVS Pro Special. Although I think it was actually released in 2016, if I remember rightly, according to his website anyway. In fact, let's go and have a little bit of a peeky over on his website. I think that's this button here. There we go. And yes, this is my new Mac with Big Sur running on it.
Nice.
Here we go. So there's the this is his products page, and it's like a chronological thing of what he's ever released. And you will notice that it goes all the way back to 1970 with the RM1.
Oh my.
And when it was the first SEM. Yeah, go 74 was the first SEM. So this TVS Pro, which is an analog synth, let's go back down here, features 2 of the SEM voices. And so Henrik, there was a bit of news about someone trying to register a trademark, wasn't there, this week? And that kind of got nipped on the bud. What happened? What did you find out, mate?
Oh, I only saw the headline. Behringer was not allowed to register in the United States. The Oberheim name, the Behringer.
Wow. So they basically said, DCM, do not come Monday. Fantastic. Well, who's going to get themselves...
Tom Oberheim's still alive.
Yeah,
and,
Tom's still
you
cooking.
Can't take over his representation because you're not him.
So Tom, do you reckon, John, Tom might be a time traveler? He's been around for a while.
He's been around for a while. Yeah.
Earlier,
it's been a couple of weeks, but the OBE came out from our friends at G4 Software, which is an SEM emulator for 8-voice, which is really great. So there's a little tie-in for something going on. We've unified it so all the patches are available in Unify, which is really fun.
So that's the new one from Dave Spears and Chris. That's awesome.
Yes.
We checked a little bit of that out last week. And I think
it's
everyone's
really
been
sweet.
checking it out.
They have 8 separate sims, and you can modify the parameters each one, and each voice is going to go to sequentially to play these different modules. It could be set to completely different sounds if you want. It's really nice.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Awesome. Okay, well obviously that's something that a lot of people would love to get their hands on, a new Oberheim TVS Pro, and apparently he's going to sign them. So if we go back to that meme earlier about cars, and there might be a little connection there. I mean, if you have a signature on it, it might be important to you. Anyway, we have got a little bit more news, so let's get stuck into that. This one I thought was pretty interesting. So whoever's a Roland Cloud fanboy may be jumping up and down right now because finally they have released the JD800, which is probably everybody's loved digital synth that Roland ever made, because it wasn't a menu diving nightmare. It actually had sliders and knobs and stuff on it. It was actually a pleasure, that synth. And now you can have it and just use your mouse. Sorry, there was a bit of a bad joke, but what we can do is let's have a little bit of a look at it, because I've been a busy boy and I actually have gone and installed it on here. So no, it's not the D50.
Yeah, I have it too.
So let's
it's wonderful.
Let's whack it in here instead of the D50. Here we go. And so you can see, let's make this a bit bigger. We can actually go into edit mode. Edit mode's pretty sexy. Look at that. Look at that. Now let's have a listen. Let's have a listen. Here we go. Can you guys hear this?
Yeah.
Yes.
It sounds like it's coming through speakers or something.
No, it's not. It's probably just quiet. Let me see if I can make this louder. It might actually be the DAW that's doing this. Yes, look at that. Let's make that a bit louder. All right, let's choose a different patch. Let's go into, I don't know, let's go to some brassy sort of sounds. Mr. Brass, that sounds good. And yes, just in case you're wondering, this is running on OS Big Sur. Yes, it is, and it's also a Silicon Mac as well. So, if you're wondering if you can actually use Silicon Macs for music, yes, you can. Anyway, the only thing I would probably say about this, I've only had a little play with it, like an hour or so this afternoon, is it's missing a bit more editing features. This is all the editing you get, and I've got the Pro version, as you can see, of Xenology. So one of the things you can't edit on the JD800, unfortunately, is the partials, which I think would have been actually really cool. But you can edit partials on other things, like for example, if we go into one of these factory patches like the bit brass here, and then I go to edit, I can actually edit partials by going into Pro, and then you can see these are all your partials that you can edit in here. It's massive that you can go into, right? So don't know why they didn't do that, and I don't know if it's me not finding it, but I'm pretty sure. Let's go back to our Mr.
It might
Brass.
need an update. Might be something they add.
Yeah, I can't see it there. Doesn't show it. But I mean, obviously you can muck around with LFOs and modulation and effects and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty cool. Anyway, but anyway, that's a real quick look at the JD800. Now it is a Zen core, so it's not. Well, it doesn't need to be ACB. This one. This is because it's a digital synth. You know, Zen core is perfect for this. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Start with you, John. What do you think of the Roland JD800 on Zen core?
I've played with it some, and I'm missing also the ability to edit our partials like you were talking about. The one thing I'm just curious about, they're really trying to push this Zenology, and I think a lot of people would prefer to see this as an option in the menu to call up a JD800. Instead, you have to call it JD, you have to call it Zenology, and then go menu diving to find the JD800. And just on a marketing level, you know, I guess Zenology is more important to them than the JD800, but I don't totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see, you see the layout for the, you know, the voicing envelopes and the shaping and stuff, but you don't get access to each of the four oscillators and things of that nature. You just more global controls right now. So I would think maybe they have an update at some point to bring out.
Yeah, I think Axelsoft mentioned in the demo video it shows editing of partials, so maybe there is an update on its way, and we just haven't got it yet. Now, I definitely have checked the Roland Cloud Manager, and there's nothing showing in mine. So, yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting? It says, if you look at the interface on the right by utility, it says partial 1.
Yeah.
So somehow there's a way to change between the 4 different partials.
But you're clicking on it and nothing happens. Yeah, it's like it's unfinished, isn't it? I mean, I'll just show the
that's what it
guys.
felt like.
I'll just show the guys what we're looking at, so you can see just here.
Yeah.
Where the mouse is.
Yeah, click utility right there, and that button has options to copy the 4 partials and paste.
Yeah.
But you can't select between them.
Yeah.
So
There's no other GUI for it. Yeah. And like I showed before with the standard Zencore, well, the Zencore Pro, you get all of that. So if we go back to here, you know, you get all of that extra, that cool.
Right, for the other models that they have.
And it's massive too. You can see, you know, these are all your partials here. So in columns.
Yeah, I bet it's something they'll do in an update.
Yeah, I do too. Yep. Cool. All right. Well, it's basically free at the moment. So if you do have the Zen Core, whether it's the Core or the Pro or the Ultimate or whatever it is that you're in, it's free. So you don't have to pay any extra. So yeah, I've got myself back into Roland Cloud again, and because they owe me a couple of life licenses, so I've got myself a D50 and a Juno, because I just feel that they did a good job of those two synths.
They sound really nice.
I mean, I've got a D550 here, and it sounds exactly the same in the mix. You know, obviously you'll
cleaner, probably
subtle differences with, you know, the DAs and stuff like that. We're not going to get there.
Right.
So they're in the mix. It sounds the same. All right. Now, other than that, we actually do have a little bit more news, and that is we do have an update about this copyright filter sweep kind of YouTube crap that's going on at the moment that everyone's getting peeved about. And you'll notice here, this is a graphic of one of my videos that got copyright flagged. And you'll see there that it says dispute expires today. I took a screenshot of that this morning, but it now has completely disappeared. No message, no sorry, no bunch of flowers at the front door, chocolates or anything like that. Just basically everything's back to normal again. And thanks for stuffing me around for 30 days and leaving my money in escrow, the total of 45 cents that I would have earned. But anyway, the whole point of this is I think we are all starting to get annoyed with how it's basically, we're just the Muppets and we have to take it up the proverbial whilst they decide what they're going to do with our copyright. But let me have a little look at this thing that I've just started on the interwebs. And if you're big behind this, I don't know. It's up to you, but I reckon you should probably have a bit of a look at this. Now I'm gonna paste a link in the chat. You guys in the chat will get a copy of this link right now, if I can do it. Try everything in this show, links and pasting and gosh. Okay, it's pretty easy. Run change.org/filter sweep. That's an easy one to remember, and it will take you to here. Rands is counting on you. Yeah, that's me. But basically, it's just a silly petition, and let's just close that for a sec. I just wrote a bit of crap here about what it's about. Basically, original video makers don't get an instant right or reply or rebuttal. Instead, we have a protracted 30-day affair where both parties submit their rebuttals. In that 30 days, the video performance is hindered by way of differing severity dependent upon the copyright claim. In some cases, it's blocked, demonetized, and even standard video algorithm of the performance is hindered. Now, that's the big one. So basically, in the first 30 days of your video that's going out, the actual algorithm does a whole bunch of magic, right? The algorithm it points it out to the world, it shows it to people in the browser features, in the YouTube feeds and all that. And if your video is sitting there in some sort of copyright claim state, it misses out on a lot of that stuff. It depends on some cases it might be okay, but in most cases it won't. And in many cases, it says here, it results in times out after a 30-day period. Now I can say this with experience because I've had 3 copyright claims come through in the last 2 or 3 months, and all of them have timed out and they've just disappeared off of mine. Obviously, I've had no severe reaction or anything like that from that, no strikes, it's just claims, but still, there's been 30 odd days where the videos have not behaved. So anyway, if you guys feel the love and the need and all that sort of stuff, please go check that out and sign the petition. I think we've only got 54 signatures, so it's a bit petty right now. But, you know, there's plenty of you guys. Now, I make this not just for synth people, this is also for guitarists as well, because actually, the more I've been talking about this to people, I'm actually starting to find out that guitarists have exactly the same problem. They are demonstrating how to use technically a guitar, an instrument on the internet, and they're getting copyright claims. And they're not doing riffs from Guns N' Roses or anything like that. They're just literally just showing mechanical use of the physical instrument, and that's kind of a problem. The algorithm's broken, people, so we need to fix it. I think it's still news, and I think it needs to carry on. Hope you guys can jump behind the cause. Links in the description. What do you guys think? Just a quick reaction from John. First time you've probably heard of this.
Well, I follow Rick Beato.
Yes, yep.
You know, if you were paying someone for a college course and they were teaching and showing musical examples, he would be paid. But because it's on YouTube, no, you don't get to be paid. And if anything, he helps bring exposure to all of these artists that a lot of people wouldn't know about.
Yep.
And that's one type of copyright. This is a whole different level where it's just like devious almost. That you can't show your own technique and performance, and somebody thinks they have a right to that. I mean, back in the day, we used to joke at Korg when I worked with Korg and would go to Japan. We can't use Tom for this drum sound because Yamaha owns the copyright on the name. And we would laugh about it. And, you know, it's actually true. I believe Yamaha does own a lot of copyrights on names for instruments and so forth, right? But they don't enforce them. This is like a devious version of that, to have YouTube like controlling what you can do. It's not cool.
Yeah, it isn't. It isn't. Well said. Anyway, Henrik, I know you kind of feel big about this because your countries have just gone through similar things where they've been repressed by YouTube, and that. Yeah, how do you feel about this now?
I don't know. I remember when I started on the internet, I was thinking everything you say will be kept on the internet, but it's not like that anymore. Everything disappears, and you can't be sure if your video are there and videos are there next year. I don't know. I was really mad at YouTube when they closed down the Danish artists, so we couldn't show anything for a few months, um, just because of the rights being paid. YouTube felt it was too many money, too much money, um, but it was only fair. It was really cheap for them compared to how it used to be when played on radio and such places. Yeah. I hope there will come lots of alternatives, or that the speed will be so fast that you are the one who has your own content and it's running from your machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's the voice of the greater majority. And if we can, my plan with this petition is once we get a decent amount of signatures on here, I'm actually going to contact Rick Beato, because he's actually been in front of Congress in the US and talked about this.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's actually managed to actually make a change yet, which is, I think, a bit disappointing. He's definitely got the voice out there, which is important, but I think we need to have another crack at getting this in front of people. It's a different government in power now, so you never know, we might have a bit more legs with this.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the moment, the music industry is hurting for a number of reasons. COVID has caused, a lot of musicians to not earn money, and we just don't need any other petty little things like this to sort of get in the way either. So I just think we just need to keep, we shouldn't let this one go. I know I kind of keep harping on it, but I think we should keep carrying on this. Don't let them get away with it, guys. That's what I'm saying. And keep putting your videos up, because and keep fighting those claims like I have. And they do eventually disappear, which is a pain, but it's worth doing the dispute. I did speak to Starsky Carr about a week ago, and he said that one of his claims that he disputed was denied. So that was interesting. And he just did like a filter sweep demonstration on a synth, and it had no melodic content at all, and it was denied by the publisher. So we need to get Starsky Carr on here, and we get him to talk about that as well, because it's just so, it's laughable, the whole thing, really, honestly. It's just pathetic. We are being dictated by a computer. We've been told what to do by a computer. It's not a person, it's a computer. And the people that are making money out of it love it because they're making money out of it. Whether it be a tiny couple of cents from me and you, but it adds up when it's thousands of us. And that's their game. And let's stop them at that game. Let's definitely stop it. All right, now I think that's it for the news. Yes, it is. That's it for the news, which is good, because that was getting a bit heavy. Right, next segment, and this one's always fun. Let's see who's scamming us out here.
Ooh.
Oh, this is always fun. We love to look at our stuff that we like to buy, the synths and stuff. And this one was sent in from, let me just remind myself, because I can never remember things. And I've restarted my computer and now I can't remember it. One sec. Where is it? Keith sent this one in. Big thank you to Keith if he's in the chat. Sing out. I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was in the 70s, or maybe it was at the 80s. You used to be able to get these Maplin synths in the UK, and I think they came as kits. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, guys, because I actually didn't live in the UK in the 70s. But
me neither.
I lived in Australia in the 70s, but I have lived in the UK for a little bit. Anyway, this seems to be a little bit pricey, £2,000 for a pretty battered and a kit sort of. Look, someone might pay it. I'm not saying, it's a bit like the cars that we were talking about before. Hey, Henrik, someone might pay it, right? And that's cool if that's you, if you're sort of after this. But the whole thing about this is, I think people are just really having a lend. It says something about the guy as a synth nut, so he's really trying to sell it. Anyway, Keith loved this one, so we'll put that one. He actually sent me another one in too as well, which I thought was awesome. So Gen Electronica SX1000 rare Italian vintage analog synthesizer monosynth Now, Jen, I think was that kind of like the same company that kind of was Elka, and there was a whole, there was another one. They were all kind of grouped together, weren't they, in Italy at one stage? So. Yeah, and they were all kind of trying to make things on the cheap. Now, I don't know if you guys have actually ever played with one of these. They're not as rare as this guy's making it out to be. Plus, it's the keys. It was a bit of a bad image on this one. I haven't got a copy of the listing, but the keys are actually all chipped. You can probably just see it there, and £1,000, probably not scam territory, but definitely something up with this listing. That's for sure. He has discounted it though. I mean, that's good news if you're actually thinking, well, I'd actually spend
25% off something used. I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So enjoy that one. Now, there was a few more that came out. I was just playing around on Reverb on my phone, and I found a Hammond C3 organ, and this is from Rick. He's it's just if you didn't know who Rick Wakeman was, get off this show right now, because it's disgusting. Right? But it tells you that he was from Yes. Anyway, this is a Hammond C3, and if you want to buy it, it's about half of that is Australian dollars, so about 23 and a bit £1,000. We'll get you that one.
You could buy yourself about 50 Pintos with that.
Yeah, and you could probably also, I don't know how many thousands that you could get VSTs with it as well. That would probably sound just as good.
Yeah. And
look at this one, an original Robert A. Moog, let's not get it right, Model 12, 1972, fully serviced. And this is a mono synth. And it does have the keyboard. It has the CV control keyboard, which I believe are a pretty sought after commodity. But I don't know if it's a £20,000 sought after commodity. I mean, I think when Moog were doing the reissues of the 15 and the 50 and all that a few years back, they weren't even in that sort of price territory. So
no.
Yeah. Look, you'd really, really want to have this, I think, if you're going to pay that sort of money. Look, it's on Reverb, so it can't be a scam. It must be real. So yeah.
Well, it's £1,300 in shipping.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone is just kind of like, gee, who's gouging who here? I mean,
yeah. I think at the end of the shipping, they go out and have like a party somewhere and spend a few dollars on your shipping fee.
Yeah, shipping / pizza party.
Yeah, champagne and girls and dancing things. Right. What did the chatty say?
Thank you, Daniela.
Oh, Daniela's popped in a nice little €5. Fantastic. Thank you for that.
Coffee and beer. Yeah.
Coffee and beer, yeah. I've got a couple of beers here. We'll crack one open and see. It's probably a bit early for you, John, but that's okay.
I do milk chocolate with ice, so,
That's okay. That's all right.
Breakfast of champions.
Breakfast of champions. Anyway, so a few people have kind of in agreement. Future World Machine says he bought an SX1000 in the 90s for £50. There you go. And Sasquatch is saying £300 for that at the best. So yeah, as you can see, I think we're spot on the money with some of these prices, and it looks good.
Yeah,
it's good that most of the people that watch my show are pretty cluey. I mean, when I first started doing these price watch things 2 years ago, when I first started, it kind of started to educate people to sort of just chill out, think before you hit the button. Gas is pretty, gas can be pretty hard to deal with, but sometimes it's not really worth what they're asking for. Just calm down.
Sometimes it is. I mean, the sound of some of those vintage oscillators is pretty special. So years ago we did a session with a Roland System 700 modular, and it was really fun.
Beautiful.
And
yeah, they're beautiful.
It's got some really unique things to do to the sound. So for maybe someone, it's worth it. I mean, that's kind of like looking at like one of the early rockets that went to the moon or something like that, right? So there's some value to that, I think.
Right, I'm going to...
More than gin,
yeah. I'm going to crack open... I don't even know how cold this beer is. It's been sitting in the cupboard, and I put it in the freezer for about 15 minutes, so it's probably going to be a bit warm. Now, if you're wondering what this is, This is a single fin. I think I've shown these before. These are a West Australian beers. So if you ever go to the West, I know you can't travel at the moment, but hey, check these guys out. They're a great brewery. So cheers.
Cheers.
Oh yes, it's a bit warm, but that's all right.
Henrik, you've got a breakfast of champions over there too, huh?
We'll just pretend we got it from somewhere in
No, it's just tea, some Earl Grey.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic.
And milk.
Okay, so the topic this week is, and I'll just play the little music graphic so we can just refresh our memories. It was this. VST synths. Why VST synths? Well, I mean, I keep getting ear bashed and message bashed on Facebook, Twitter, everything about, Rands, you never ever show enough software on this show. You're always showing hardware. Why don't you show software? And I'm like, well, because I work in the IT. I work in the IT industry, and software is like a bit like that for me. But look, hey, let's not be stupid about it. Software is important, and whoever's been bashing me about that, they're absolutely correct. We do need to give it some love on the show, and I will promise that we'll do some more. And what perfect timing have we got John here, who is a plugin guy. He's a developer as well. So why don't we start with you, John? Tell us a little bit about everything that you do, and I think that's a good segue to show some of our favorite things coming up.
Yes. So I own a website that it started making patch libraries for software synths because it's such an easy medium to transfer libraries through digital downloads. People keep asking me to make like libraries for the Kronos or for other physical synthesizers, and it's just a lot more work and more troubleshooting to. We get enough tech support email for software. When you get to where it's hardware and sysx and getting things to work, I don't want to really go there. So I service just software synths, and then the last year we've brought out our own software ourselves. But it was 2020, and we were trying to think, there's the Spectrasonics and the Native Instruments and all these other big companies, and we're just starting out. So you can't really introduce just a basic synthesizer and be considered legit. You have to be up there at the level of everybody else, or don't try. And so instead of trying, we saw an opportunity to do something kind of fun with trying to find a way to make a place for everybody to play with their plugins. And so we created Unify, which lets you load all of your MIDI effects, all your instruments, all your audio effects, and integrate them in some really cool creative ways to make new sounds and to play with your plugins, because so many people own a folder that's got 500 different plugins and they only use 2 or 3 actually all the time, and the others just kind of sit there in the folder, don't go anywhere. So with Unify, it's really easy to load up a patch. We've developed a system where you can save a patch with any plugin and then actually load any patch into your existing patch. So with that concept, you can take one sound and in just a matter of no time at all have 6 or 7 different patches from completely different synthesizers loaded and playing to make a new sound. So for a creative sound design environment, it's really, really been fun for a lot of people. And we keep developing it and finding new ways. We've developed our own MIDI effects, things that can be done to, our motto is with Unify is we make plugins better. And Spitfire Audio brought out the BBC Symphony Orchestra plugin, which is this wonderful string orchestra and brass and woodwinds, but it's just one instrument at a time. And with Unify, you can load up all 5 instruments of the strings and play them across the keyboard in real time. So, and then save that as a patch that you can just quickly load whenever you need it in whatever song project you're working on. So we're opening up some fun doors with software by finding ways to do more with what you have already, because we all have so many plugins, we need places to play with them. So that's why we're here.
Fantastic. Well, I think it's this button. This is your website. So you were just talking about Unify, and
Unify.
Just thought I'd show the guys.
Thank you.
Currently version 1.3.2, and on sale at the moment for $79.
Always on sale. The thing is that people, our retail is $79. We could sell it at a higher price and then put it on sale every now and then. So instead of that concept, we just have it. It's always $79.
Yeah, and the good thing is you've got a free demo version if you want to check it out before you buy. There's an online manual. There's a couple of examples here, and yeah, we can go into all of that.
If you scroll down right in here, you start to see the all these unified libraries. Those are all the factory patches to all of those different plugins. So what's fun with those is you can load any of the factory patches from the DC 106 from Cherry Audio, with a patch from Pigments, with a patch from Dune 3 in seconds into the sound you're working on. And when we unify, we organize them by category. So all the synth patches are put together. All the BPM stuff is tagged that way so you can know that it's going to take off and do something of a tempo based, so you can use the actual libraries in a creative, fast way. I think that's a lot of synths don't give you that simplicity. They make it like you just have this whole list of all these names and no clues as to what they will do. And when you're in a time crunch situation, you're trying to work on a song, the last thing you want is to call up something that you think is a keyboard sound and it ends up being a special effects sound. So it's better we categorize at the beginning of the name so we know that we've got BPM patches to work with, and then you can combine the BPM patches from everything. So
fantastic. And obviously you've got the plugin side of stuff as well, which is under products. So these are all the.
We're going to updo this website. It's gotten so sprawling at this point. So
it looks good to me. You've got some nice graphics and a nice big fat buttons to buy. So yeah, there's quite a lot. There's quite a lot in here.
80 libraries.
what's kind of falling off the shelf big time at the moment in here?
Well, Omnisphere has always been very popular, and the last couple of years it has become even more popular. So out of the 80 libraries, 40 of them are for Omnisphere. And I think I've pushed Omnisphere farther than anybody else. I have libraries that have drum samples with the arpeggiator playing the drum samples to make a drum groove that you trigger with one key for starting like 6 patches inside of an Omnisphere multi. And there's a BPM bass and a BPM synth part you can play with across the whole keyboard. So there's a lot you can do in Omnisphere. And so I've really kind of pushed that. Some of the sample libraries like Mega Magic guitars, Mega Magic pads are using multiple patches to play different samples across the keyboard, because the Omnisphere is like, no, we're not a sampler. Nope. Yeah. So you just have access to one sample in one patch, but you can map each patch to a different range of the keyboard. So taking that to a certain point, but I'm kind of like, say you have a nice sound and you want to change the attack and it's 8 samples, that means you have to edit the attack of 8 patches. And so I kind of moved to my own software at this point where I can load all the samples and just change one attack parameter and it changes all the samples at once. And so we're doing a lot of things now where we're bringing our catalog into Unify. So the list keeps growing, both of unified libraries, which is, to be honest, those are created by my customers. I don't do those. We have a really active group of people on our forums at forums.pluginguru.com, and they have created software using the memory record keystroke type of software to load each patch, grab the information of that patch, and actually save it, go to the next patch, load it, copy all the data, paste it into the unified tags and categories and save it. And they've automated this to where I'm getting thousands of patches a week. And it's just been like, but it's pretty cool that there's 23 different libraries now unified, and quite a few of the PluginGuru libraries have been saved out with unified patches. If you add it all up, right now Unify is accessing over 17,000 patches. So and it's still growing. I have Avenger. I've got quite a few other synthesizers that I have the data for. We're just, it's kind of like if you used to go to a CD shop. If you bought one CD, you'd really get into it. And if you bought 6 CDs, you'd get into one CD and then you'd forget about the other 5. So we're just doing like one library a week. This week, Repro 1 and 5 have been unified and been released. So if you own Repro and you own Unify, you can go to the PluginGuru to the Unify page and scroll down and click the link for Repro, and it will download a file that will make all the factory patches of Repro 1 and Repro 5 become patches you can access in Unify. And then the fun thing with that is you can then go to the Repro 1 library and you can choose one bass and right click on another bass and get that added and add another bass. So you can add patches super quickly to what you're doing, and it opens up all sorts of really cool cans of worms that are fun.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you know that we've also got Oleg here in the chat, and he's called Grey Wolf 2004 RU. He's actually the developer of Blue Up, and I believe you've got that in Unify as part of the core, one of the core packages.
Yes, that's one of our
his comment
MIDI
should have
effects.
showed, but it I don't know what's going on. Actually, yes, I do. I know why it didn't work, because refresh. And I just wanted to show you the comment because, I'm currently a beta tester of the Blue Up hardware that he's released. So big fan of the Blue Up.
It's great.
So yeah. Awesome. Well,
thank you, Oleg.
Yeah, he's awesome. So that's actually really cool. I actually haven't. I haven't used Unify, so I need to check that out.
We'll have to take care of that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is many years ago, I used to look at the MIDI Quest Essentials thing, and it had a kind of patch management thing similar to what you were saying, but I never ever. It was just really difficult to use, and I just went no. It's too much clunking around. I mean, I could use it, but it was just too much stuffing around to get it set up, and then the moment that you reinstall a computer, you don't want to be going and setting stuff like that up again. So well, it's different than like Galaxy or the other synth patch editing things, because the content, the plugin, and all that is inside of the actual software version of the plugin, so it's there and stable and all that kind of stuff. It's really fun. We have access to all these tools, and there are some capabilities in certain DAWs to layer up to a certain point, but to make it to where you can layer a patch and then add another patch and add another patch, it's really groundbreaking. And it's one of these features that Unify didn't come with. It came over the last year of development. Airwave was the first to go, hey, I made this really cool thing for the Serum library he was doing of techno patches. I want to load this. So he was the first one that actually we got these patches, and inside on a layer it said Unify. And you open it up and inside would be like 6 different patches, and we're like, that's cool. Yeah.
And now we have it to where it's seamless, where you can start with one sound and you can load other sounds, and it will load them seamlessly without any audio glitching. So you can be building up your sound as you're working. It's a different way of doing things. It's very fun.
Fantastic. Now, whilst we were mucking around with everything, Dean has managed to be able to come back on and reconnect. Now, he was waiting patiently for me to tell him that it was okay to come back on. Darren's disappeared out of the chat room, so I can't ask him. But if he is watching, Darren, can you come back in as well? I think we have sorted out all the gremlins. Dean, I thought I'd just quickly cross to you and say big hello to you. Say hello to everyone, and also plug that new website of yours that you've just been telling me about. Definitely do that. Let's just pop that up there again.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Rance. Hi everyone. It's great to be back in here. It's been really looking forward to the show and seeing Skippy on here today. I mean, Unify, just want to jump in straight away on that. I love it. I've had that for over a year now, and it's just so great work. It's such forward thinking. It makes just such a breeze putting songs together as well. How quick you can put a basic idea together the patches and all the drum BPM stuff and everything like that. And you know, the quality of the sounds, you know, for me, they're like nearly finished. So, you know, I really want to thank you personally on that, Skippy.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, well, as in we've got a new website now for the studio, fatpotato.uk, and it's got the links there for emails. It's just started up at the moment, so we're building content on there, and it's with me and my friend Steve Bruce, who he's a studio engineer and, you know, a teaching session drummer and things like that, and he's blind. And it's amazing working with him. You know, he helped me set this studio up, and so, you know, that's also one Skippy, if there will be any like kind of blind accessibility for, you know.
Yeah, that's a question that we've been asked, and to be honest, we don't have a lot of research in how to do that and how to assist people that are visually impaired. So we'll probably need to have a consultant come in and work with us. We're dealing with lots of layers and lots of challenging things. So I'm not sure how to make, we don't know what to do, to be honest. So we have to integrate that in at some point, because we have had a number of people ask for visual assistance. But we need to educate ourselves to what that means at the same time. And it's just myself and a gentleman named Shane Dunn in Canada that writes the code. There's just two of us. We don't have a whole, you know, sound department somewhere that's doing all the software coding, and we can put 6 of them onto this project. It's just one person. And so we just got done with the AAX version for the next update that we're bringing out in a week or so. Just step at a time. We have to really prioritize what we want to work on, because there's just one person working on what is Unify. So, but yeah, it's something to look at for the future for sure.
Yeah, well, we have a couple of questions from the chatties. Now, the first one that came up, Daniela's just put another super chat in for €2. Someone here that is able for Manel Balkan music is the question that she's popped up there. So, someone here that is able for Manel, I don't know how you pronounce, am I pronouncing that right? Manel, MANELE/Balkan music. Is that kind of like, maybe, is there something in your plugins that kind of fits that sort of genre, maybe, John? I think that's what she's asking.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what she's referring to.
Okay. Yep.
I don't know.
That's fine. That's fine. And the other question that we had pop up, and I'm just trying to find my mouse to work, was this one from Sasquatch. Why is Unify using VST2s? Is a good question from Sasquatch. Yeah.
So the Unify is cross-platform, so it can work on PC and Mac, and there's basically 3 formats that are universal in audio units: VST2, VST3. Audio units are Mac only, so if somebody loads, Unify is a plugin, and so if I'm like right now I'm working in Logic Pro, and so the audio unit version of Unify is loaded. But if you look at my list, it's all VST plugins that Unify itself is talking to. And the reason for that is because I can make a patch, or somebody else using VST2 plugins can make a patch and send it to someone else, and they can load the patch whether on a PC or a Mac if they're using the VST2 version. VST3 is pretty compatible, but that actually has had some revisions done to it, so there are some cases where it's not as compatible. With older versions of VST3, they're better now, but not everything comes out with a VST3 version. So VST2 is the standard that it just makes it so I don't have to do any conversion work to get a patch that's saved for the PC to work on the Mac. And so the plugin that you actually load into your dock can be whatever you want it to be. The AAX version in Pro Tools lets you load VST2, VST3, and audio unit plugins into Pro Tools. So it's mainly just a matter of compatibility with all the different platforms. If it's everything that we do, we try to save as a VST first if there's a VST plugin available, because that way it's just going to work with everybody else.
Fantastic. Now, Daniela, sorry, has just kind of tweaked her comment. She's saying it's to do with where was it? Was it gypsy, traditional gypsy sort
Django
of
Reinhardt.
Romanian gypsy. There we go. Romanian
Yes.
gypsy. So yeah, maybe have a think about this. Is there any kind of like ethnic type Romanian gypsy sort of instruments, or yeah?
Oh, she's looking for players that might play those styles of music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if somebody's there, contact Daniela.
Yeah. Also, I mean, obviously the Native Instruments contact is a good platform for those sort of specialist. I'm not saying the Native Instruments, Ultimate and all that sort of stuff. There's probably a limit to how much that has got, but the contact library itself is open for development for people to bring that sort of stuff into. So do check that out. It's another option. Now, just while you guys were chatting about VSTs and stuff, I just thought I had a bit of a squiz at a squiz is an Australian term. It means have a bit of a look at the Fat Potato Studio website,
There you
which
go.
is
Look at
pretty. Look at that! It's pretty groovy, isn't it? And
Yeah.
but
I'm looking for a potato, though.
look, this part, this is the part that you start to think, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
This is where you're starting to get some gas. Look at all this cool stuff, hey?
Yeah.
So
I don't see any Pintos.
So anyway, there is a stack of cool imagery in there. I think he's done a fantastic job of his website. Well done, Dean. Now, Dean, you've been dying to kind of to test out some of the audio. I think we've been dying to hear some of it too. So how's that Moog sounding? Is that still plugged in front of you?
Yeah, we can get on to that. Let's just get on the right track down here. Find my little mouse again. And hopefully we're okay.
Yeah.
Lovely deep end.
Yeah.
Go over to the machine. The lovely filter.
Oh, listen to that analog filter.
Mm-hmm. That's the best simulated filter.
Yeah, that was a VST. No.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Tricked you. Just a bit of a G-force moment.
Actually,
That's
I thought while I'm at it, I thought what I'll do is I think this is a great opportunity to sort of play with you guys a little bit, have a bit of fun. I've got a track that I made a while ago, and it's on my previous album, and it's got a couple of analog synths in there, and it's also got a couple of digital synths in there, but they're hardware synths. Now, what I want to do is I wanted to kind of see if you guys could recognize which one was which. And I'm not going to show you the screen, but we're just going to play the audio, right? And then I'll mute certain things, and anyway, let's have a little listen. So we'll start off with this bit. Here we go. Out with the new and in with the old. Out with the new and in with the old.
Killer drummer.
Right, I'm going to pause it there. So I'll give you some hints. There was a D50 in there, and there was a Juno 106 in there, and it was an original Juno 106, and it was an original D50. But I wanted to see if you guys could recognise whether it was the VST D50 or the actual real D50 playing. I mean, this is kind of where we kind of get a bit of fun, having a bit of fun with software synths and stuff like that, right? So what I thought I'd do is I'll just replay that segment again with the D50. Now, it was using a very, very standard patch that D50s have. So that little sort of stringy sounding patch was called Stereo Polysynth. And it kind of sounds like this. So that's a VST version from the Roland Cloud of the D50, and yeah, so I've recorded both of them, and I just wanted to see if you guys could pick it. All right, so we're just gonna play it again. This is sample A. All right, sample A, sample B, here we go. All right, in the chat room, chatties, A or B, was that the VST? Put your this is so much fun. Put your guesses right now. A or B, was it VST? Thanks for the nice compliments too. It was okay. So let me get it really specific. The D50 VST, not the D05 Boutique, not the D05 Boutique, but the D550. If we're going to get really technical, was the actual real D50 that I use. Okay, so we've got X101 saying A was the VST. Sonic Link stuff is saying A. Future World Machines is saying B. Tom Lowell is saying A. Ado Z is saying both. Your name here is saying ABBA. Yeah, we don't have any Dancing Queen happening right now. But yeah, keep them coming in, and I'll let you know in a sec. We'll let that run for a few seconds, and we'll come back. Michael B is saying A. These are always good fun, aren't they, guys? So let me just cross over to Le Macintosh, and I'll just show you. There's the D50, and you can see me playing it live. So you can see that's what it sounds like. It's a standard patch that you can see in all Roland D50s. I went to no trouble at all to play that little riff in my track.
Right.
So I just like the sound of it, because when you hold the note down, it has that kind of tail where it sort of goes.
Yeah.
It's one of the cool things about the D50 programming with the partials and that I love. All right, so and you could see obviously with the track names and everything, you saw D50. I think they said Coral. There is another patch that I use, which is called the OK Corral, which is a very this was actually done very deliberately. This actual track is called Retro, and I actually did it on purpose. I went and used some really, like you would have recognized the Alesis, that sound that Depeche Mode used famously in one of their Violator album songs. I've deliberately put sound effects in that track because it was called Retro. That was the whole purpose of it. Okay, someone actually said C. So Inky saying A. Okay, so the correct answer is the VST was B. There you go.
Yeah.
The VST was B, but I mean,
it's too perfect.
Let's be honest, right? Let's be honest. There was it was really hard to tell. I mean, some people got it right and some people got it wrong, and I kind of think that's the point that we're trying to make here. So it is a digital synth at the end of the day. The only thing I think, if you had really, really good ears, and I really don't know if YouTube is going to pick up this sort of stuff because of all the compression, right? But you probably would have heard a hiss from the original output of the back of the D50, because it would have had a bit of a hiss sound. The digital.
I was actually listening to the high end.
The high end, right?
There's a more high end in the software version than there is in the
bit crisper. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit like this little EQ added to or something.
Yeah, cool. Well, anyway, so it's good that you guys can actually hear that through the YouTube compression and algorithms, because I often can't tell In fact,
Yeah.
I was playing with the guys before we started streaming. I was playing a Behringer Eurorack module through the what did I call it? The module that I bought, the 106 chorus that I recently bought, and one of the guys thought it sounded like a Juno, and so there was nothing Juno technically at all about it. I just used a similar oscillator to what a Juno had, and I used the chorus, which is the Panasonic MN3009 Bucket Brigade delayed chip, an actual real analog chorus sound, and that's why it got that beautiful Juno sound. So you can actually really get close to synths sounding like synths if you know how to do it. You just have to sort of do a bit of study, and you don't actually have to go and spend $2,000-3,000 US on a vintage Juno. You can actually get there.
Now you tell me, Rand.
The problem I've got is because I live in one of the most remote cities in the world, and for me to get something like that, it probably costs just as much as to get it shipped here than it does to actually buy it. So it's not worth it. Probably get damaged by the time it gets here anyway. But I guess kind of the whole point of this is that I'm kind of saying to you guys, just because I'm a hardware guy and I love my hardware synths, there's nothing wrong with software. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I actually use it. I actually used a little bit of it in that track that I was playing before, not the D50, but a couple of sounds out of it. And effects are probably my biggest use of VSTs. I absolutely go to town when I'm actually polishing up and mastering my tracks. I use VST effects till the cows come home. I love Eventide effects. I love some of the other cool guys out there that do effects. So yeah. Excuse me. Now let's go around. We'll go around table here. We are still waiting for. I don't know if Darren's going to come back on, but anyway, if he doesn't, that's fine. Round tables here. What I want you guys to tell me is what your favourite VST is right now, and why, I guess. So we'll start with you, Henry. You haven't been on the screen for a bit. What's your favourite VST and why?
Are we talking instruments or sound processing?
Anything you like.
Okay. It's probably very important. So it's probably Ozone, not the latest version, the one before.
7?
8, I think. 7?
8,
yes, yes. I don't like the latest.
I'm not
version.
sure what they bring out versions every month.
Yeah,
to get
and
some
it's
money.
only the design which is different, and then a little extra thing. But I use it on all the music I make, so that's the most important plugin for me.
Okay.
Of instruments, Omnisphere, and Yuhi's plugins, Hive.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a great one.
And Repro 1 and 5 is good too. And that's about it. And the last few years I've bought more hardware than software, so I'm beginning to see through the commercials, that it's only the design which is better and better. It's not the sound. I already have the plugins which I need.
Yeah, and just don't upgrade your computer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's half the problem, isn't it, right? Oh dear. Some good answers there. Okay, so what about you, Dean? I know you're a real a hardware guy. I mean, let's face it. Look in the background there, but I'm sure you do use your computer a little bit. So your favourite VST?
Yeah. Funny enough, well, can I include Unify? Because that would be my favourite go-to.
Absolutely.
Thing I use a lot. I mean, from before I was building this studio, all this used to be in a bedroom, and it was a nightmare to get into anything, to move cables. So I ended up spending a lot more time on my laptop, and it was like, coming out as last year, exactly when I got Unify. And it was such a godsend where I could just sit down at my breakfast bar not have to worry about going into the jungle of cables and mess and not taking this down. And yeah, so that's would be my most used soft, synth plugin, what we want to call. One I'm really loving at the moment is Synth Master 1, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That's, I've really enjoyed that as a plugin, and I do like to use a percentage of plugins because I think it's a real nice contrast when you've got like the soft, warm analog, and these soft synths can cut through, so I like to kind of have a like, 75%, 25%, something like 70-30, just it has nice character across the board. So yeah,
great answers, fantastic
my choices.
John, I'm going to come to you in a sec because you're kind of going to have some really good ones to say, but I thought I would just bring the chatties into this. There's been a few. So we've had Goya said Equator, Sax Brothers, Addicted Drums, and Jamstick Creator. So he's had a few there. Serum's getting a lot of love. Tom Lyle said Serum. Sasquatch Spitfire, BBCSO, and Labs. We've got Vacuum Pro. We've got couple of bits of love for Unify and Omnisphere. Yuhi, Zenology from Axelsoft. He loves his Zen Core. And look, I agree with him. I think it's actually really, really good. Sergio is saying Yuhi as well. Softtube, Plug-in Alliance, Native Instruments, Cherry Audio, and Waves. Fantastic. Another good one that was mentioned, I think, is the TAL Uno LX, which is a great one. I would probably add the TAL Chorus to that because I think that one is pretty important. Grey Wolf said Synth is, I agree with that. Synth is awesome. And also most of the TAL plugins, I agree with him there. Don't sell yourself short, mate. I think the Blue Arp should definitely be up there in the top 10 of one of the best VSTs ever made, because if you're into arpeggiators, that is killer. So what else we got? We have also seen Universal Piper as the bagpipe VST. Haven't heard of that one. I'll be definitely checking that out. And a bit of love for Contact. Of course, Native Instruments. I mean, nobody has mentioned Arturia, I don't think yet. And I would have to say Arturia makes some really decent plugins. So Pigments was pretty amazing. Pigments 2, I think you could probably go there. Definitely some of the better sort of analog emulators out there. What was it? The Fairlight, the one that they did on that was pretty cool as well. So I mean, we could be talking about this all day. But John, you get a turn now. Not as commercially biased or anything.
Right. Well, I mean, I am biased to Unify just because it is a fun place for all these plugins you're talking about to play. I will just point out what's fun is like, I can share screen, right? I think I have a button here that says share screen.
Yeah, you can. I
do this.
Give it a go.
So this is the Spitfire Labs. One of our customers saved all 225 patches, including the new pipe organ, as Labs patches. So and what's so fun with Unify, I can go to any other patch and go, oh, what if I wanted to add piano glass to this? And now Unify has become multi-timbral, because I have both this, which is very soft, and this.
Yeah, that's
so it's
cool.
Playing. So
cool.
Any synth you own, TAL 106, all these different synths, I could go to any of these patches from any of these freaking libraries. I mean, it's just nuts. I could go to, like we're talking about repro, so I could go repro 5. And as I said, one thing we've done is we've organized everything by category. So I can go down to pads. Let's add some horns from repro 5. So any synth you own can become multi-timbral. It's really opens up all sorts of crazy doors to all these synthesizers that we own and love to make them work in really cool ways. So we were talking, somebody said the BBC SO, which is the BBC Symphony Orchestra. This is the strings where I can go here to long, and this will load up not one, but 5 of the BBC Symphony Orchestra strings across the keyboard. So I can play the entire, if you solo just the violas inside of the BBC plugin, it only plays for this limited range on the keyboard. Oh, I got it. It only plays for this part of the keyboard, right? And part of that range isn't all that great. So we actually limited the range a little bit so it fits. So across the keyboard, start with violin 1, 2, to violas, cellos. So you can play all the sections of the BBC, which you can't do inside of the plugin itself. It only lets you play one of these at a time. You can choose from this huge list, but you can't play them all together. So we've done that for the strings. We've done that for the woodwinds. Click here and boom. And then if I want, what's nuts with Unify, I can go back to those strings and I can say, where are they? Long, right click, load into a new Unify layer, and it's loaded a Unify plugin that has the entire 5 patches of the strings. And I could go to the brass and add them. 24 layers in a single patch can be completely different plugins, doing anything you want, and then save it in a patch that loads in seconds when you click it to load. It just opens up all sorts of cool doors. I love, I've got synthesizer libraries for, we did a library for Zebra that's one of my favorites, just because I worked with, we get sounds out of Zebra that, most people probably shouldn't. They're actually, some are kind of scary, but I love Zebra personally, just on a personality. I will say a new synth that's come out that people should pay attention to, especially since you can get it for free, is Vital. This has a really cool interface for programming. We're actually working on a library for it that's going to be coming out, and you can do some pretty, I've got a whiplash here, is but its interface is so unique, because if you like this LFO, you can just say, I want this LFO, and anywhere that's lit up, I can go to the filter and boom, and I can control the depth right here. So it's pretty groundbreaking on a user interface to have it so that anytime you click something, you can immediately see what it's assigned to, where it's assigned, and change it, which really makes, the whole going over to the matrix of most synthesizers and editing and going back to it, that's such a pain in the butt. And here it's just all in front of you to see how everything works. You have a paintbrush, so if you want, you can go through and make rhythmic envelopes like in seconds, and then change the curvature of everything. It's a wonderful instrument to play with. It's very digital sounding, but it has its place in the spectrum to work with. But it's really fun. I'm really enjoying the flexibility of this synthesizer. You can even go to the matrix, and if you want, you can have an LFO modulate the parameters inside of the matrix, which is pretty cool. So you can have this controlling the depth of something else, which is pretty powerful. And you even have a curvature zone for the throw of each one of these can be changed. Multi breakpoints can be added. It's very powerful. So I love all synths. I haven't met a synth I don't like. So I think they each have, even the stinkiest ones, there's a place probably on a Beck record where they used it. So you can't really put any synth down, because they each have their own personality, and with the right producer and the right song, find a cool place to work with it,
Fantastic. Well, Grey Wolf said, Oleg said, I like the trick John used in Unify to play several synths when it splits notes between them. there's a blue ARP, and probably, I think he went on to say, another MIDI plugin involved. Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That's very fun.
Oh yeah, Henrik's got a
the other
question.
side.
Can I just go to Henrik first? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree on Zebra, but one thing which is important about VSTs compared to hardware synths is the overview. You see most of the parameters immediately. I just got a wave state, and it's so difficult to move around. There are lots of knobs. By the way, John made a lot of patches in it. It's difficult. Hardware is often difficult. Hydrosynth is one of the best interfaces for hardware synth, I think. It's so easy to program and see what you have programmed on the hydrosynth, but it's much easier on the screen to see it. It's more difficult to move with the mouse, move one knob. That's the problem. And the sound is, I would say, the same, sometimes better, sometimes worse, as a hardware.
Well,
working on the wave state was one of the most difficult voicing projects, just because we had some limitations we were using software to edit, but it was a clone of the hardware in a way. And wave state is one of these deep dives where there's an awful lot going on under the hood that because of the considerations of cost, they decided to limit the physical interface, and it makes it a lot more difficult to work with. You have a lot you have to have in your mind pictured out of what you're working on, and the concept of what you're working on is pretty vast. So it's very challenging.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, well, I think
but it sounds good.
Did we have another comment? I think we had another comment. No, I got that one. Cool. Beautiful. Awesome. Now, chatties, watching the show, you've got a plugin developer here, and you've got someone who ships a lot of plugins and has a lot of contacts with the plugin industry. It's a brilliant opportunity for you to ask your questions. So please highlight my name by going at Ramsey, and then ask your question, and then I will pop it up to John, because I'm sure he can field some of them anyway. So it's a software show. Time to time to talk. Time to ask. Time to put him on the spot.
Yeah, I see the comments from Mike, so he's going to be leaving, I guess. So that's
we just ignore it. When will I have a good virtual vocalist VST, says Axelsoft Music. It's a good one.
Yeah. Yamaha's done some good development with some of the vocal. To me, vocals and violin are two of those things that are kind of sacred. Probably shouldn't be trying to be done in synthesis, just because there's so much nuance that you kind of miss out on, and the human quality is what you're really going for. That, software has some of that. MPE and some of the real-time control can get you there, but I haven't seen anything convincing to me yet for vocals.
What do they really want, though? I mean, is it like the TC Helicon stuff? Is that what they're kind of wanting, or what do they mean?
Good question. I think a lot of people can't sing, including myself, and wish you could have, a vocalist that you could type in lyrics and just have them sound like a great singer. And that's asking for a lot of machine learning, probably artificial intelligence stuff to try to get it to have, here's what your typical vocalist would do in this situation or something like that. So maybe something like that in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so let's go across here. So Wigu's asked, I'd be interested in hearing your take on the ultimate dream hardware interface for any of the VSTs. It's a good one.
Wow. Well, The challenge is, each software synth is truly got its own interface and its own kind of architecture. And so I'm not sure, you kind of have to say, okay, this is a synth, and what would be the ultimate interface for that synth? And then focus on what controls layout you would need to represent that. And, how big of a room do you have for, something like Omnisphere to be done in physical form for 8 different patches that each have all these hundreds and hundreds of parameters? I mean, it'd be half of a back of some sort of a ship to do that. But yeah, that's a good question to think about. What would you want? The most important parts versus, it is cool to see everything at once. So, I'm glad it's in software and it's something you have on a screen that you can make bigger and then close it when you're done with that and open something else that has a different interface, that has a whole different vibe to it. I think that's nice.
There's no sound, Rancy. I think you're muted, your mic.
I'm just going to show you the bottom of this, but it just keeps disappearing off the bottom, so I don't know whether it's... there we go.
Why are the big companies so expensive? Because they're big companies. We can sell Unify for $79 because I don't have to pay rent. Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
I don't have to pay rent for some big building, and I don't have a whole, most of these companies have a whole staff that does all sorts of components. For me, it's just me. So it's a much different scale. Big companies, they have big expenses and they have to recoup those with what they sell. So that's typically where that comes from.
Yeah, there was a couple of other questions kind of along those lines, like will hardware synths be one day rendered redundant? And I think kind of differently, but not really, is what are your views on piracy? Because I think they're the two competing issues, aren't they? Software synths are piracy, and hardware synths may potentially be redundant.
Yeah, a lot of people worry about piracy. I actually don't worry about piracy. A lot of stuff that happens music-wise happens because young kids get a hold of software before they can afford it. The stuff that there's a certain age where everybody becomes like, what am I doing using stolen software? And then you want to buy your own software and own everything. It's just kind of the cycle of the internet. When we were all young, we all had movies or some sort that we have torrented. I mean, I'm guilty of it as everybody else. But you get to a certain point where you go, I don't want to do that anymore. And so there's those that will pirate and there's those that won't. And whether it's available, I mean, Vital is kind of a stab at trying to totally get rid of that, because you can download the full version of Vital minus extra wavetables and patches for free. So it's not a matter of going to some website to get your copy of Vital because you can't afford it. You can download it directly from the developer. So I think that's an interesting stab at trying to, minimize the importance of piracy, because they're giving people options to buy the Vital plugin at different levels depending on what you feel you can afford for it. So I like that approach. But
I think a lot of the guys are kind of coming up with similar sort of questions around the lines of the VST host as some sort of hardware thing, and I kind of feel like they've got, like Grey Wolf said, would there ever be a viable platform to run stable enough for a long term? I think Axelsoft said long term, with no worries of driver or OS issues, and Grey Wolf said the viability to do it, to ever sort of make it. Is it a profitable undertaking? And I guess kind of my take on this would be that there's the synth manufacturers kind of do it already, but they limit you to what you can put on it by making these workstations, right? So Yamaha make these big omnibus type workstations, it's not a VST host, but maybe that's the next step. Hey, maybe one of these synth manufacturers, like Waldorf, for example, could make a really good, stable, bare metal platform VST host. What I mean by bare metal platform, and that means that the VSTs would run without having to boot into some sort of core operating system, and you can check your emails, and then there's a virus update and all that stuff to go wrong. What it does is it just runs the VST core, and then you can load your plugins in that way. And I think Akai have kind of got close to that, haven't they, with their MPC operating system? So maybe they could be the sort of company that could do this. John, is it something that you think it's possible to do?
It just depends on how much tech support. I mean, anytime you integrate software, you're opening up the issues of software. And so a lot of these companies, they have, a number of people doing tech support full time just with what they do now. And if they were to incorporate software, open up to where you can do internet, open up where you can do all these other things, then you're going to get people to call you on it. And so it just brings more cost onto the company, which means they have to make the products more expensive. So it just depends. I have learned by releasing my own software that every person watching right now, your computer is a unique environment just to itself, even on the Mac. And people will have something where all of a sudden this is working in a particular way, and it's because of some extension they downloaded 2 years ago. And nobody else in the world has the same problem happen. And we have to solve that problem. It's a lot of work. And so I doubt if someone doing hardware would want to take that on, just because it's, there are companies that make dedicated hardware just for live use, and they've done a really good job in some cases of streamlining things to where it's just for music, and they've stripped out a lot of the operating system that's not necessary. It's highly optimized, and they're great. But if you just let someone have a computer sitting inside of your workstation, there's all sorts of things that you have to be aware of as things you have to, we make libraries for all these plugins, and people write to us all the time like we're tech support for those plugins. So if somebody that sells hardware brings in a software component to their hardware, they're going to have to accept that they're going to get a whole bunch of tech support questions for everything that can possibly be in software. So a lot of them, I don't think I would do that.
Yeah. It's challenges.
It's a lot.
There's challenges. So,
Yeah. It's a big challenge.
Also,
Goy is asked, so I just wanted
yes,
to get just wanted to get Goy's question in before he throws his synth at the screen. Sorry, Henry. Goy has asked, is there going to be any development in iOS with the plugin development?
We actually, Unify started as an iOS plugin. And there wasn't enough hardware power to support what we're doing. And we quickly, iOS is what sparked the idea in my mind, because I didn't think that there was a place where you could have all of your plugins, VST, audio unit, and VST3 available to work. I didn't think that was possible. And in iOS, they brought out where when you run one of the applications that's got the audio unit v3, the system puts a check mark that that's available for other applications to use. And so that's what kind of sparked the idea for Unify. We do have plans to integrate iOS, OS, I can't remember the name of it right now, off the top of my Touch OS, I believe, for controlling all the parameters in Unify. That will be coming in the future. I don't know if we will make a version of Unify for iPad. We'll see. I'm of the school of not being a fan of silent partners that take 30% of what you do for just making it available. So there's some talk about them changing some of those royalty things that they're doing. We'll see. But there's other things like EUM. I believe AUM is a host on the iOS environment that's really, really great. So there are things similar to Unify there now. they don't do the patch into patch. But again, you kind of run out of juice pretty quickly with an iPad. So that's kind of what's limited us from wanting to. Plus, it's just Shane and myself again, and our hands are full trying to add the things we want to add to Unify before we looked at anything else. We have, I think, 8 pages of things we want to add to Unify. So we got a lot to do.
I think a lot of people forget, like, I mean, the Apple world is big in the music industry, and I get it, and I understand that you guys are kind of cemented, you know, it's almost like you've got cement blocks stuck around you and you're never going to leave Apple. But
oh, heck no.
Please understand that, like, for example, you
70%
can actually,
are PC users.
Yeah, you can actually run, like a Microsoft Surface will run like an iPad. You can run Ableton on that, or any DAW on that, in fact, that runs on Windows. And you can put contact libraries in that and it will work. You can put Unify in that and it will work. So you've got yourself, I've got a Surface running right here, running the show, and you've got a pan and you can touch screen, and this is an older Surface, but the newer ones are killer in terms of power. So don't just kind of marry yourself to Apple. And I mean, in my world that I live in here, I have Apple and I have Windows, and I don't solid myself into one of the camps and go, oh, I don't like the other one. No. I kind of like to have the flexibility of both. So yeah.
No, Shane develops on a PC. Unify is developed on a PC.
Right.
He has we were part of the Apple development program, so we have a silicone Mac with Big Sur that we've been testing on for 4 months, and Unify works flawlessly on silicone Mac with Big Sur. So we totally, I think it's over 70% of the people that own Unify are using it on a PC. So we know the reality of what the numbers are. So no, I've lived my whole life working only on Macs, and that's just my preference. But I'm totally open to everything. It's whatever you want to use is fine with us, and we support everything. So
Goyes is saying he's going to have to reinstall and repurchase everything now. I mean, keep everything you've got. Don't go and sell everything. Don't sell your life away. But no, definitely check out Surface. It is something that a lot of people look. If you're wondering, I found out about Surface purely by accident. My son uses them at his school, and then at the end of you get one every 3 years, and so at the end of his 3-year thing, the school writes to us and says, for $100 you can keep the Surface that your son just had for the last 3 years, and he looked after it. And I said, okay, great, I'll have that. And so I paid $100, and I've got an old Surface here, and I've run Ableton 10 on it. I've got I'm running the show like it's kind of like a show notes thing. I run it every single show. I've done it for the last 2 years. It's probably not as powerful as what Goy is saying he wants to do, but the more modern ones that have come out now, they are so powerful. They're fully touchscreen. In fact, it's arguable that the touchscreen is actually better on a Surface. There's people that will argue that it's actually better. So I mean, look, if you do want to find out a little bit more about Surface, I do have some older videos on the old Surface Pro 4 that I've got here, and I've shown you how to use it. But if you want to see something a little bit more modern than that, Robin from Molten Music Technology, his channel does a few cool Surface videos as well. So definitely check him out as well. He is a good guy. So we definitely give all the various cool synth people plugs on this show, that's for sure. Okay, now Henrik, you had a question. I don't know if you still got it. I'll go to you. You're muted, Muddy.
It was not a question. It was just something John said about giving support on software on different machines. I just thought of 12 of the machines at my work are configured the same way, hardware and software-wise, and they make different problems. Some card readers work on some, and some work on some others. They are different, no matter how equal they are set up. So software support is a difficult
Yeah,
thing.
it drives us crazy.
That was that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you're supposed to be the same computer, but 3 people have the same computer, but they all have different problems. It's just like, what? How could this be? So these are things I didn't realize until you have software and you have people writing tech support. It's like, I need help with this because when I resize and I quit and come back, it doesn't remember it. And another person has it and it totally remembers it just fine. So
yeah. I mean, it's like the other day, I had issues with the stream, and not the issues we had tonight. That was a ISP issue, but I actually had issues with the PC. And so I wrote to the guys who developed the streaming software, which is a company called vMix, and the guy came back to me and he said, your Windows just needs to be reinstalled, it's corrupt. And I'm like, oh God, do you actually have any idea what that's going to cost me? So I had to do it. I had no choice, and I reinstalled Windows, and it fixed the problem. But obviously, as a result of that, I've lost a whole bunch of software that I used to have, and it's all gone. And I mean, I had options. I could have done a restore from a previous backup, all of that, but I chose to go with the clean install route because that way I'm not reintroducing any gremlins. Now the same thing happened again with me when I recently just purchased my Mac Silicon, because I've got an old Mac, and I could have used the Mac backup and done a restore from there, and it would have put all the VSTs back on and everything. But the issue I've got is that Mac would run 32-bit and 64-bit and Intel-based software, and now that I've got an M1 Silicon, a lot of that stuff would just literally just go, no, I'm not even going to execute, and you don't know what sort of gremlins that it would cause. And so I decided to go down the route again of starting from scratch and installing all the software. And guess what's happened now? I have got this massive issue where I can't use my mixer anymore. I've got another mixer, so it's not like the end of the world. But I had to go and buy 2 dongles
oh Lord,
to work, because Mac no longer makes a FireWire compatible device. So there's one dongle that transforms FireWire to Lightning, and then because Lightning's been around forever, they've got a new version of Lightning, and that converts it to that. So it's absolutely stupid. Anyway, so Presonus have written Big Sur drivers for their FireWire device, not just the mixers, they've also got audio interfaces and that, and it doesn't work, because when you install it, there's a thing called SIP, which is a security prevention protocol in the new Synth Catalina. I think it's Synth High Sierra, where if you install software, you have to go into system preferences and you have to allow certain software to be installed. But even that, it didn't like it. And then you go into this thing called disabled software, and it lists all the things that were not successful to be installed. And my FireWire driver is sitting in there and I can't get rid of it. So anyway, so as it stands right now, my Presonus mixer does not work. I can see it as a FireWire device in my system report, but it won't work. It won't recognize it. It won't see it in audio and MIDI setup. However, on a contrast, the Roland MX1 mixer worked like a dream. It installed, no problem. I mean, I downloaded the driver from the Roland website. So some companies seem to be like more progressive with this than others, and some companies seem to be resisting. And I'm kind of just wanting to get the word out with people. That is, you are kind of not. Dean's got a question. Dean's arm's about to drop. I'll get to your question in a sec, Dean. You don't want your arm to drop off, mate. You've got to kind of really take a serious look about when it's time to go to silicon. It may not be. It may not be now, because you may not want to have all the problems. I work in the IT industry, so I don't need to worry about some of these problems. But someone who doesn't really have a lot of computer literacy, they're going to be nightmares for people. So what I'm saying is that what I don't like is I don't like people monopolizing on this stuff. So that, like, for example, companies saying, no, we're not going to update legacy hardware. So that means you just won't be able to use it. I think that is absolutely stupid. I think that will bring disloyalty to that organization. And I think all they have to do is just employ some people to write the drivers. And I think that will actually
that's just it, software,
that will
right?
do that.
Someone's going to release an update, and now your mixer works.
And that would make so many people happy. I mean, musicians are forced to buy stuff all the time. We don't really want to have to go and spend another $2,000 on a mixer just because the Firewire, Apple have decided to not support Firewire anymore. That's just an example. But it's not a dig at Presonus, by the way, because they actually have written the driver. But I just kind of feel that people really, really need to sort of have a think about this whole world with computers. So it's a 64-bit movement that was with the Catalina, and that was a real big, heavy lifting episode for everyone. And now it's the silicon chip. So Apple have kind of done it twice in not so many years, right? Watch this space. Microsoft.
Well, they've done it lots of times. Lots of software updates have required companies to release updates after an Apple update to fix something. So
let's go to Dean before his arm drops off.
Thanks. Cheers, Ramsey. There's one question, and also just want to give praise to like the technical support you get from Unify is amazing. I mean, I've known big companies and they don't get back to you for weeks, and I've had to get hold of Unify, and I expected to be somebody else, and it's actually John who actually does a lot of all of this stuff, and he's doing all this work, and it just amazes me, and also the support you get online. There's so many videos he's putting up all the time, talking you through all the steps and everything like that, which is just so useful. I just sit there with my other computer open, playing along with it and using it, and it just makes it such an ease of use. So just big thanks there to you on that one, John and Shane.
Thank you.
It's brilliant. And the question that I had actually was about, will you be bringing into Unify like being able to go through external MIDI channels, like to outboard gear and stuff like that?
Yes, that's definitely something we're looking at. That and audio output support. There's a number of things that are kind of on a list, and we're trying to think of how to do that. And it will probably be some sort of a premium upgrade to give you these, and how that looks. Not like a really expensive upgrade, but it's software development time. We've released a number of revisions with completely new effects for free, and we can't keep doing that for some of these features that take a lot of development work. So for Shane to get paid money and so forth, we're looking at how to do that, make it an affordable upgrade so that you have the ability to add new our philosophy is, if it's a feature or a plugin that I'm going to use for making the voicing, then we include that for free. If it's something that's going to be a performance enhancement for Unify for people in certain situations, that should be something that's paid for, because that's just for certain people that need to use that. Not everybody needs to use that. So how we do that, we're still working on, because it is just two of us, and it's a lot of work. So I do have an assistant. I want to plug my assistant Taylor, who helps with tech support as well, and he is great. If you guys ever have questions, unifysupport@pluginguru.com is our email address, and we do reply within the same day for everything. In fact, in a lot of cases, it's within the hour or two, and if not, right back, because sometimes I miss email, but if we see it, we reply as fast as we can. But yeah, getting to where you can talk to MIDI in your system, incorporate multiple audio inputs into the system, have multiple outputs to go to a bigger mixing environment. Those are all things that we want to do for Unify for sure.
Thanks, John.
Just development time.
It's just brilliant that, like I say, that you kind of come out with the plugin, and it's been over a year now, and it hasn't gone up. And I was expecting, a couple of revisions of it, and then actually it's going to go up.
Yeah.
So I'm a very, very happy customer.
Good. You bought it January 15th. He's been around for a long time, so I appreciate that. That's great.
Yeah, thank you, John.
All right, well, I think we probably should wrap the show up now. It's been a couple of hours we've been streaming for, and I'm actually amazed that the crappy version of the internet that I've got here has actually managed to be reliable, whereas the good internet wasn't. Anyway, we're not going to split hairs on it. So big thank you to Darren, who was here, but he's no longer here anymore. Big thank you to him. Big thank you to John for being
Thank
on the
you.
show and telling us all
Pleasure.
about Unity and all that sort of stuff, Unify. Big thank you to Henrik for being on the show again and also introducing us to John. So if you're wondering, that's how we got to meet him, and you guys get to share it. And also to Dean
Thank you,
for
Henrik.
finally getting his microphone sorted, and we can play with his studio a bit more.
Yay!
I will sort out the internet issues, and we can try and not have those issues again. At the start, I'll be sending my ISP a very nasty email. But anyway, thank you everyone who's in the chat room. You guys are awesome. It's really nice to have you all here every week. It makes me humble to know that you guys are there supporting the show every week for the last 2 years now, which is amazing. Anyway, why I think...
If I might say one thing?
Yeah.
In 4 hours, I have a live stream on the PluginGuru channel. We do a live stream every Saturday for typically 90 minutes. Sometimes it goes over that, but we are going to be looking at Delta Xils-labs. They have a couple really cool, interesting plugins. One called Fold that can put basically the Fold synthesis into any audio source, which is really cool. And they have a really cool granular plugin called Stream. And I have a community thing programming-wise going on right now for the Spitfire Labs because it has been unified. And if anybody owns Unify, and if you download all of the free labs, you can make your own layers and combinations of all the things you can do in Unify and send them to me between now and next Thursday. And I'll put all the patches that everybody makes into a community library for labs. And it opens up, it's so cool to combine 3, 4, 5, 6 different, there's 23 different libraries in labs. And so to take those different libraries that normally you just play on a track all by itself, all sitting there all alone, doing nothing all day but just being a plucked pick guitar, now to combine that with the labs pad and with the labs soft piano and with some of the other sounds and make something new, it's a fun opportunity. So we will be making patches in today's live stream to show you how to use Unify with labs and make your own patches so you can go home and do this in the coming week to send to us to put into the library. So we're big on teaching programming, how to actually get your hands around all the different plugins that I've made libraries for. There's over 300 videos on the PluginGuru channel. So thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
That's my pleasure. One last plug from me, and that is if you actually do watch look at my YouTube channel, you will notice that I'm actually going to be doing a second show, which I actually told John about, and he actually decided to get up really, really early instead to be on this one because he wanted to be with Henrik. But there is a second show, and that's going to probably be in about 9 hours time from now. I'm going to insert some sleep for myself in there. Then I'm going to get up really, really early in the morning and I'm going to stream again. It's going to be pretty much the same show that everyone is seeing here, so you're not going to be missing out on anything. The only difference is we'll have different guests and maybe I'll have a different internet connection by then. And, it'll be all the same stupid jokes and everything as well. So, but if you are living in Australia, in the US, it'll be much more beneficial for those time zones because those people will actually be awake and not in slumberland. But I'm going to definitely keep this European and UK time slot going. There's no problems there. You don't need to go anywhere. So we'll see you all next Saturday at the same time. I think unless daylight savings is finished or whatever. But anyway, whatever that happens to be, we'll see you next week. Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Everyone say bye. Wave goodbye. Yay. See you later.
Bye.
See you soon.